It's September, which means it's Fashion Month, and that means that there are plenty of shows currently taking place in London, Milan, New York, or Paris. Those are the four main cities that Fashion Week takes place in. There are fashion weeks in other places, for example, Tokyo or Berlin or Copenhagen. They're not less important, it's just that the big houses such as Gucci, Prada, Chanel, those are in one of those four cities, which is why we talk about those four cities the most. That doesn't mean that the other ones aren't as important or as great. Now, when you see those shows or see pictures of those shows, maybe you're a bit overwhelmed, maybe even intimidated. That's definitely how I felt when I first got into analyzing, into watching, and also interpreting fashion shows, because I think they are very, for an outsider, they are very intimidating, because it seems like such a elitist group of people who are there. But now there are platforms where you can easily watch those shows and see all of the looks, which is great. So why not use those platforms, and maybe you can find some inspiration from the shows. Maybe you want to get to know a specific brand or a designer better, or maybe you're just interested in how to read a runway. And if that's the case, hi and welcome. My name is Sophia and I'm a journalist who wants to show you a little bit of my fashion sphere. So, to get started, it's important to know that these shows happen in advance to the things that are being shown going into store. That means that right now, Fashion Week that's happening right now in September is showing spring and summer clothing for 2026. Now, is everything made to be worn? No, definitely not. There are many pieces that you will be able to see when they hit stores in a few months, definitely. But there's also a big bunch of clothing and of accessories, everything that is created to show off, and that isn't meant in a negative way. It's a way for the designer or the house to show their creativity, their vision, what they want for the future, things they came up with, different concepts or different ways to style something, to create a fabric. And then there are also the pieces that are made to be worn on red carpets that you won't be able to see in stores, but you will be able to see at the Oscars maybe, or the Met Gala, even though on the Met Gala those are different looks usually, but on red carpets. Now let's start with the looks. I guess interpreting a fashion show, a runway, is basically like interpreting a poem or a piece of art. First, you describe what you see. Let's start out by describing the most obvious thing, probably what the models are wearing or not wearing, maybe. And you can look at it as one look, but then you can also look at it as a collection and maybe see a main idea that is running throughout the whole collection and every look you can see. That can be a silhouette, so maybe the pieces are all very structured or very frilly. Or it can be colors, so maybe all the looks are very monochromatic in muted tones such as beige, gray. Maybe you can look at Laura Piano show or Max Mara show, which are often in one of those color palettes. Or maybe the looks are very bold and have very bold colors such as magenta. There were some magenta looks and green looks this year. Or you can look at the fabric of the clothing. That is actually my favorite part, because especially this season, I think there were very interesting fabric combinations. And something that you can spot maybe is lace or wool. Maybe they are combining satin with linen, something like that. Something that is interesting and that caught your eye. Everything that catches your eye is important and good to note, basically. Analyze everything. Right now you can take that as inspiration for your own wardrobe, or if you want to, you can dig deeper and look at the location, for example, or the music choice. Now, a brand, when they show a runway, they want to create a world, they want to create a vision, and they want you to be part of that world, or at least see that world and get the narrative across, basically. And it's different for every brand. Some houses just want you to see the clothing, and they will have a very muted surrounding. So maybe just a beige room, or very minimalistic. Maybe the light comes from the back and they create tension with that, but other than that, very minimalistic, which is also telling you something. Jill Zander is usually doing something like that, or Max Mara is also often working with not so much theater, not so much drama, whereas John Galliano for Maison Margiela, for example, that was a great example, actually, from one of the last shows when they showed those dolls. I thought that was great, actually. Great example. You should definitely look that up. And it also tells you how the look should be perceived. If they're just to show off the clothes that you then can buy, or if it's rather conceptual art. And this is not, both are completely valid and fine. This is not to say that one is better than the other, but there are definitely differences in the different houses. And then in the end, you should spare a thought at who the person in charge is. Who's the designer? Maybe it's a new designer, which, for example, this season is super interesting because there are so many new designers or new designers to different houses. And that can be very interesting because, especially when it's their debut show and there is so much talk and fuss about it, because they want to show how they create their world in a world that is already created. Because all the different houses, all the different brands have house codes. I think the most people know Chanel and know tweed. That is very, very Chanel and is one of their house codes. And basically every brand has something that makes them the brand. And the designers that come to the house have to respect it in a way, but of course they also have their own handwriting, and they also want to bring their creative vision across, and they are appointed to do so. Now, there are many platforms where you can do that, which is great. I love that because, of course, it used to be a very small circle that would go to those fashion shows, usually journalists. Now there are also influencers, and not only that. For example, YouTube. YouTube is a great resource because you will find a video of the show that is usually professionally made, professionally filmed. But also often the brands or the different houses show videos of the process, how they made a certain thing. And of course, you always have to keep in mind that they show you what they want you to see, of course. So take it with a grain of salt, but still it's super interesting. And then there's also Vogue Runway, which is also a great resource. It's an app. I heard that in some places you have to pay for it now. I don't think I'm paying for it. I'm not 100% sure. Nevertheless, I think it's great. I love Vogue Runway. You can save different looks, take it as inspiration or whatever you want to do with it. And then there are also books by different houses where they show different collections, all their collections or their different eras, and they can be super pricey. So definitely maybe look on eBay for them. I love them. I have a few of those. I definitely recommend getting them. At least from some of the brands you find interesting or that you love, maybe. And then a cheaper alternative is also magazines. There is a Vogue Collections, I think it's called. It's a magazine, it's a Vogue magazine that shows basically all of the looks from Fashion Month. That is also great. I love those. Also to collect them over the years and to always see and look back at the runways. It's great. Love them. Can recommend. They're a bit more expensive than the normal magazine, a normal Vogue magazine, but still super great. Now, to be honest, you don't have to do all that digging, interpretation, getting to know the house and the designer and all of the backgrounds to be part of the conversations. You don't, I think. And I hate the whole talk about, oh, you don't get it, you find it ugly. If you find it ugly, you don't get it, which is often said about Prada, for example. I think you can just find something ugly and leave it at that. But of course, if you're interested in how to read a runway, which I would guess since you clicked on that video, I hope you can take something away from this video, if it's inspiration or a resource, or I could just give you a helping hand in how to read a runway. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see each other next time. Thank you, bye!